I'm back. Guess what? 2023, I'm back. As many of you know, we took some time off, went to the World Cup in Qatar, and it was outstanding. I got my soccer ball up here somewhere behind me, the World Cup ball. What an experience. If you were following along, thank you. I posted many videos and stories and everything about my experience there. The World Cup is just something to live through. It is outstanding. Of course, that region, that part of the world, it was mind blowing. Anyways, go watch that video or all those videos and catch up with me. So the year in review, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a little what happened last year, go through the numbers and see where we are. But first, let's roll the intro. Okay, so the year, what a year 2022 was, and it's shaping up to be an interesting 2023. 2022, we started at the peak. We climbed and we climbed, and January was outstanding. February, we didn't know what was happening, and then all of a sudden, whoo, everyone kind of took a deep breath, and the sales, the volume, the pricing all came back down to earth. Of course, we had government interaction with raising interest rates. What a year it was. We're going to look at those numbers. We're going to figure out where we are, where we ended up, and perhaps a little bit of where we're going to go over the next couple of months, because I think that's what most people are interested in. We talked at length about the market last year, but let's just kind of summarize it, go through it. And of course, we're going to look to see where we are at the end of the year, December, how it's shaping up for the first couple of weeks here in January, and where I think we're going to go over the next several months. And are we going to see any more interest rate hikes, all of that kind of thing? Oh, we can talk about that, but I do have some upcoming videos where we're really going to address that and the unemployment rate, and should that be going down or should that be going up? What happens? We want inflation to come down a little bit, all of those things. Anyways, that's what we're going to do today, is we're going to look at the numbers from last year, figure out what we're going to do with them. And remember, a smart investor is an educated one. A smart home buyer is an educated one. A smart home seller is, you guessed it, an educated one. So let's look at it. Let's go educate ourselves together. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to share my screen. Yep, there we are. There's the year in review. And I've always got this ready. This report, you can always download this report from our website. I'm going to back out of here. Guess what? I should have mentioned this right off the top. New website launch where you can get all of these reports and fun videos at realtychatter.com. All sorts of cool stuff there. Quirky stories about real estate, important information, important news, of course, about our industry and everything in there between. That's where all our videos are hosted. That's where all of our podcasts are hosted. We're going to have some guest bloggers on there. There's blog posts for those that like to read. That's not me. I like to do video, obviously, but there's already some great articles up there. Go check out realtychatter.com. Let's go look at the slides that we've got over here. Let's get rid of this, because now you know, realtychatter.com. Go there, and that's where, of course, you can get everything. Okay, so McGowan report just released. Of course, you can go download this PDF, this report in the YouTube notes here, or of course on the website, realtychatter.com. Another plug. That'll be it for a bit. Let's just see where we are compared to 2022, compared to the previous year. Now, the previous year was also pretty hot, right? And then we're going to look back about a decade to kind of see what happened there. So with this, none of this, if you've been following along, none of this is of any surprise to you. Everything's going to be down from last year, right? We've already kind of talked about that. Total listings were down, not much though, just down by 10,000 listings, which would be about 5% from the previous year. 194 listings the previous year, now down to 184. And we'll go through these numbers a little bit here, more specific, but there's a snapshot. If you wanted to know, you don't need to watch any more of the video, but let's go look a little bit deeper here and into each one. Okay, first one, total listings. Well, I just said that, and my quick math was not too bad, down 5% from the previous year. And here you can see over the last several years, back into 2018, we had 184. I'm sorry, 185,000, 183, 184. So we're kind of back to those levels. Last year, remember this total number of listings, not number of sales. That's different, right? So the inventory kind of remains about the same. If you take out last year, we're kind of averaging about the same. And we're going to see that you still have some home sellers hanging on to their home at this moment, but we're still early into the year, right? Like kids just went back to school 2, 3 days ago this week, and into really the third sort of week into January, second and a half, I guess I should say. So the inventory or the lumber listing shouldn't surprise us. But here's the interesting thing. So 2016 was a down year of listings, you can see here. But remember, the end of 2016 into 2017 was a hot year. So that's kind of at 208,000. So we didn't even reach that for 2021, or sorry, 2022. So that's interesting, right? And then you can see right in here where we are for the last 2 years. So remember, we want to be educated. We want to be educated home buyers and home sellers, whether you're an investor or not. We want to be educated. Average list price. So you list your price for $1 million. What are you going to get for it? Sorry, that's the average sale to price. We're going to get there, but the average list price, you can see here, that number increased about 9% previously, but the strategy and how to sell your house and all of those numbers, well, that started getting into a line with what the market was looking at and that type of thing. So you can see that, and you can see over the years, well, obviously as that list price and the valuation increases, so does the list price, right? That's typical. Let's get into the total inventory cost. Well, that's the number, all the home sales, sorry, the home listings. What did that value? You can see that number kind of fluctuated a little bit from the previous year into the $230 billion, $237 billion. That's again, all the listings added up. But what I want to get to, and I've been going faster because I want to kind of go into here, total sales, number of sales that were actually sold from all of those listings. This is what we know. And all of, we're looking at Toronto as a whole. So Peel region, York region, Durham region, Toronto, of course, Dufferin, Simcoe. These are all the sales. And you can see that's down 37% from the previous year. And we've been going down ever so slightly. So here's the big number. So 2021, 137,000 home sales in that area, best year we've ever had, and you can see that in the graph below here. And now we're down to approximately 85,000 listings, which is, for a long time, in fact, over a decade or more, that's the lowest number that we've seen in an absolutely long time. And if this chart would do it, it'd go back more and you would see it kind of line up probably with the early 2000 numbers. 85,000 homes sold last year. That's not a big number. And that's why you're seeing sort of that inventory gap a little bit. We're going to look at that in a minute. Do we have an inventory gap? Meaning not enough inventory. And I'm gonna make the argument that we don't have enough inventory at this time. But take it with a grain of salt. We're still early in January, and we'll see what that looks like over the next couple of weeks. But as of right now, we don't have enough inventory, even though looks like there's homes to go look at and sell. But this, again, is of no surprise. We know that the number of home sales were down. So when home sales are down, what does that do to our average price? Well, obviously, it has a direct effect on it. Now, because of where we started January, of last year, where we ended in December last year, the previous year, 2021, it's going to have, the numbers aren't going to feel like we're moving forward, or the narrative of the story slightly changes. So you just have to know where these numbers are coming from. They're basing this on the average of home prices from the previous year to last year. And of course, that's gone up a little bit. Of course, you can see those numbers right here. But again, we're looking at the big picture, right? And you can see that valuation creep on up. And I want to show you something. This is going to be interesting. Over the next several months, we'll see what this valuation looks like. And the last big real estate spike or peak that we felt was kind of in that middle of 2016, 2017, kind of right in here, right? You can see that. And the next several months, you can see or a couple of years, you can see what happened with that valuation. It dropped a little bit and then it started coming back. So should that say to us, if we're looking forward, are we going to be, just staying stable and maybe start creeping up at the end of this year or into next year? Well, of course, there's some other ramifications around that, the mortgage and the interest rates and how you're being qualified for mortgages. All of those people that we think there were hundreds and thousands of people that were on variable rate, can they afford the new rates? Well, it's actually not that many people were on a variable rate that just took them recently. So that'll be interesting. And anyways, I'm gonna hold my thoughts on that until we get to the end of the video here. Average list of sale. I got into this earlier, but this is what I'm talking about now. It's basically at 100%. So you list your home for $1 million, we'll say, you should be in and around $1 million as your valuation. Now, doesn't mean that the valuation is there. That's where you have to work incredibly hard and do your research with a good listing agent that understands the market and understands the valuation of homes. So when you do list, you are listing at market value, which you then can expect that valuation to come in at your listing price. Because if I list at a 1.4 thinking I'm going to get 1.4 and there's no way that the home that I list is valued that high, of course, then I'm not in line with what this data is telling me. You really have to study the home sales around you, what's happening with the market and different things like that. So understand that you really need to focus on how to evaluate your property. And that's one of the things that I love doing, sitting down with home sellers and other realtors and showing them and teaching them where to pull that data from, where to pull that information from. So if you're curious, reach out to me and we can certainly look at that. Good stuff. Average days on market. So this is interesting. I always like looking at this one because this obviously has an impact on the home sellers and buyers and when you can expect your home to sell. And here's the thing that I want you to look at. Last year, we're back up a little bit, creeped up to 17. If you just looked at the months of, say, November, December, we're probably closer to about 21, 23, 4 days on market, which is, about three weeks or so. So you remember me saying earlier, we had our last little spike in 2016, 2017, when that stopped, when that run up of real estate kind of stopped, you could see what happened to the days on market. So we had approximately a 34% increase in days on market, which is about, in this case, about 7 to 8 days on market increase. And we're going to start to see that again right into here. And I've been saying this for a while now. We can probably expect to see about 25 to 30 days on market in this current time frame. But Gary, you just said there's might be a lack of inventory. Well, we're going to look at that in just a second. And I do think there's a lack of inventory, or maybe I'll rephrase it, a lack of appropriately priced inventory. You still have sellers that are kind of hanging on to those numbers. In fact, they're chasing the market. They're not in the market. They're just chasing the market, or they're on the market. We want to be in the market, right? Well, you've heard me say that before. Total sales volume, I'm going to skip right by that because that's just the number of homes that sold and what was that volume. And of course, that has a direct impact on the total valuation. But really, we care about your area, where you are, your street, that type of thing. That's what we would look at when we go to analyze the pricing. So that's the quick year in review. I'm gonna slide over to this page. I like this page. This is the chart that comes up, and I'll share with you what and how to read this. The green is the number of listings per month, you could say. The red is the number of sales. And then, of course, the blue dotted line is your average sale price of that huge area. Again, Toronto, GTA, Durham, York region, Peel region. So there's going to be a lot of fluctuation in price valuation, but that would be your average price. So, Gary, you're looking at this. What does this tell me? Well, of course, this falls off the cliff here. Don't worry about that. That's just because that's where the data ended into January here as we start this year. But here's the interesting thing here is we're looking at this and you can see there is a little discrepancy of inventory as we went into the later months of the year, right? You can see that number shrinking of how many homes were available to what was listed. So if you look back earlier in the year here, we had a tremendous amount of listings compared to the volume of sales, which is intriguing. It's always intriguing to me. And as we ended last year, you can see here, we had less and less listings, which of course, as we get in December, that's typically the case. However, we had more people hang on to their homes or hang on to their decision of selling until this new year. I truly do feel that we're going to see, and in another few weeks, as we always do, but a bump in listings. And I think our spring market, and I'm going to go out in the record here saying our spring market's going to come a little earlier than later this year. Usually it happens right around that end of March or first week of April here in the GTA. And I think we're going to be probably mid-March, maybe even sooner than that, because people want to get ahead of the curve. And if we have more people getting ahead of the curve, we're going to see more listings. So what does that do to pricing? Well, the more inventory, that should bring the pricing down or even. And I think we're going to be even. Of course, you heard the Canadian government talking about the number of immigrants coming this year. And that number this year is going to be about 700,000 per year for the next several years. So we have a lot of people coming, which means a lot of those people are going to come to the Toronto area, and we need to have housing for them. You said, well, how can they afford a house? These are highly educated immigrants coming that are immigrating to Canada, and that's who we're going to be attracting. So they're going to be coming with high-paying jobs, money to purchase a home, and most likely, compared to where they live, Canada will feel like it's a cheaper opportunity for them to live here in Canada with much more opportunity, if you can believe that. We live here, we live and breathe it every day. But for somebody, I always use this as a reference. Maybe you live here in Toronto, then all of a sudden you go to the East Coast or somewhere where the valuations aren't as high as they are here. And you're like, man, it's so cheap to live in here. That's how other people think of Toronto, believe it or not. Toronto, I have friends that live in the East Coast in New Brunswick area. Like, yeah, you should come out and invest here. You can get an investment property for 300,000 to 400,000, where we got to spend triple or quadruple that. Like, man, how many could we buy? Yeah, that's when people come to Toronto area. That's their mindset as well. So interesting facts around, and the interesting mindset of what that looks like. So, year in review, where are we going to go from here? I'm as I kind of led to believe, we're going to see an inventory bump, which should help with buyers' choices. I think our valuation is going to just be plateaued for the next several months. If there is a interest rate hike later this month, what does that look like? There's a lot of interesting things that are coming out of the Bank of Canada and OFC and everywhere else. That we'll talk about in other videos, in fact, because there's going to be direct impact on how you are qualified for mortgages and so forth. And remember, there's still a tremendous amount of equity here in the GTA. And what we are seeing, and what I've witnessed and done and practiced in the past, is I'm really just moving someone's equity from house to house. They might be buying up or buying down or a lateral move, and we're really just moving equity around at this point. Now, some people are taking on bigger mortgages. From my experience over the last 12 months, they did take on some mortgage or bigger mortgages, but really we were moving tremendous amounts of equity around. And I'm talking like, $700,000, $1 million of equity or more. We're moving that around is what we're doing. And that's what we have to remind ourselves with here. Anyways, so check out the website, realtychatter.com. Love for you to swing by and leave me a note there. That would be pretty cool. Bye for now.